Okay, I am live apparently, and I look like I belong in a horror movie out here. And so we're going to see what I can do about the lighting situation. There, that isn't too bad right there. Um, so I'm just going to see who's out and about if anyone is. If not, I'll just do what I always do and ramble on. Because I'm pretty good at rambling on. Um, so while I wait to see if anyone's joining in here, I have a message to respond back to. Okay. So we got Saturday night, we got our bad coffee. So, yeah, just I'll read this one, this message that I've got here. In my group, some are starting spaghetti squash and cantaloupe. They said, we started you a couple of squash, but didn't know it if you would want and the cantaloupe. Okay. Sure thing. I have some zucchini and cucumbers for you guys. That's how we do it. Okay. That's how we do it. That's how family's supposed to work here. Um, family, tribe, community, whatever you want to call it. Just so happens that those actually are family. I'm seeing that I've got one person on here. Are you getting a good feed? Because it seems like I'm a little shaky, like a little like a bad connection maybe. But I don't know. Um, let's see what they said. Okay, good deal. So I guess I've got some spaghetti squash and some cantaloupe for the garden this year. I was not planning on growing. But spaghetti squash is a really, really awesome plant. For those of y'all who don't know, y'all don't know nothing about spaghetti squash. It is delicious. And it's a really good substitute for pasta. Basically, you cut the squash in half. To process it, you cut it in half. You put it upside down with like the inside down. I think that's how my wife does it. Anyway, you put it in a casserole pan with water. You bake it in the oven, and it gets all of the innards taken care of. Just scrape it all out with a fork, and you use it as you would pasta. Make your own spaghetti with spaghetti squash. Make your own chicken Alfredo with spaghetti squash instead of pasta noodles. Um, quite delicious. Um, and but we're going to be doing a lot more garden this year than we have before. My side of things, my homestead. Um, yeah, we will be doing a lot more gardening this year than before. And it's because the world is burning. And that's just something that we can do um, to have some control over what's going on. Um, but but that is what it is. Um, so I reckon that's my world. The one positive thing that's come out of the past year, as far as all of the mess, is it's caused a lot of people to wake up. Excuse me. A lot of folks have woken up this year or this past year. Uh, and that is one positive thing out of all of this mess. Um, I've got plants surrounding me. Like you are on top. Well, there's a shelf, and you guys are actually right above my zucchini. I've got cucumbers there. I've got peppers, tomatoes, lettuce, cabbage, more peppers, flowers. I've got plants completely surrounding me right now, and I will probably be planting some more. Um, we've already got our onions in the ground. That's a pretty early thing, um, but it is what it is. Um, so I will say, for anyone who has come in after the fact or is watching currently, the title of this live stream says "and bad coffee," and that is what I am drinking. It is some kind of a fancy coffee that had vanilla flavor in it. Like a flavored coffee, flavored with vanilla, and it sounded tasty. It did. It was a moment of weakness. It was an impulse buy. I bought a small can, and it cost as much, if not more, than the coffee I normally buy in a big can. And it wasn't even good. So I'm trying to get it used up. I'm hoping that I'm not doing all of this for nothing, and that the video and audio actually are working okay. I wonder. There's my phone. So we're going to see. There's the revolting video that I was watching. Okay. That I was watching. Okay. That I was watching. Okay. There we go. All right. So it seems like I'm actually somewhat there's some lag, but doesn't seem like it's, at least not at that moment, overly horrible. But yeah, like I didn't figure very many people would be out and about. It's just kind of a random thing. And I realize that there's a lot of people who do their live streams on Saturdays to compete with, and that's cool. And I don't make nearly enough content, and I don't make nearly enough content to be on their level. Let's say that. And that's part my own fault. You know, and part I live where there's it's just I'm just not technologically advanced, which I guess is my own fault. But computer's slow, internet's slow out here. Cell phone signals slow and sometimes spotty. So there's just is what it is. No fiber optic cables coming out here, and there better not be for a good long while. I don't want fiber optic. I don't want city water out here. I don't want natural gas out here. Well, I've got natural gas out here. I'm one of the last houses that actually does have natural gas, so I think. But I don't know actually how far it goes. But most people heat with wood around here anyway. I don't want it. I don't want it here. City water shows up, and so do all the rest of the people. That's my opinion. That's what I saw when I was a kid. I was a kid growing up. I grew up about, it was a perfect location. Like this convenience, and I grew up on 35 acres, like 15 minutes away from the nearest town. And then it was a nice road, a nice farming road. And then the city water came through, and then a housing development got put in, and then another, and another, and another, and another, and you have all of these housing developments now up and down this road where once good farms used to be. And it's depressing because that the farmhouse that we grew up in, and the barn where I grew up in, or I mean, I basically did. I grew up in the barn. The barn was built in 1919. It was an old dairy farm. The barn was built in 1919. The guy went and cut his own lumber off of the property and built his barn and set up his dairy, and his family lived in the barn. And then he built his house. And that's the history of where I grew up. That's it. And then I see that, and then I see what it has become. Not that property, but not that property necessarily, but just in general, that area and what I see happen to it, it saddens me quite a bit. So I don't want that to happen to here. And I don't think there's any real danger of that happening in the near future. Maybe at some point in my lifetime, but it's doubtful. I don't know. But it is debatable as to what the future holds for this country. Oh, goodness. Watch me with this coffee. I swear I hate it. I hate this coffee. But by the time I finish that can, get it all used up, because I'm going to use it all up because it's freaking $10 for a little tiny can. Wasn't too much bigger than this coffee mug. Wasn't too much bigger than this coffee, to be honest with you. But by the time I'm to the end of it, I'll probably actually enjoy this coffee. But as of right now, I don't really. Not truly. I might have to put whiskey in the next cup. Shh. All right. I'm going to go and get another cup of coffee. And I will be right back. All right, we're back. Oh, I am back. There we go. So I've been on for about 20, 22 minutes. I reckon I'll get out what I'm going to get out. And then if no one's come on to the chat by then we'll then we'll probably call it quits for tonight. So we were going through last night some family, what would you call it? Personal belongings. A relative of mine that has passed on, and we're having to go through her husband is suffering from Alzheimer's and is no longer allowed. He is no longer able to stay by himself. So the house is being sold, and we have went through and cleaned everything up, and then it's on the market. But what was the word? We have gone through and we've gotten everything out of there. Sold what needed to be sold, and saved what needed to be saved, and thrown away what honestly needed to be thrown away. And so as we're doing this, now we're actually going through all the memory stuff that she had saved in her life. And she saved obituaries and cards. She saved every card it must have been that she had ever gotten. At least when she got advanced in years, anyway. She saved a lot of cards. So many cards. Handmade cards and store-bought cards. It didn't matter. She saved them. And we got to thinking. We got to talking about the some of the old things that people used to do and the old ways, and we found her mother, her mother's um, elementary school graduation requirements and what kind of marks she got in the exams to get through elementary school. And they had to learn about agriculture, home economics, reading, writing, arithmetic, um, philanthropy, which is basically spelling. I think that's what the proper word. I think that's the word. Basically, I'm looked it up, and it basically means spelling. It's just an older term, and physical fitness and health, and several other things. And all of this she needed just in elementary school, not to mention American history, world history, state history, and civics. These were all requirements she needed to get through elementary school in 1931. They got a much better education. And all of this, the books and the cards and this education and all of that got me to thinking on the fact that one thing I'm glad to see is coming back in my generation is the giving of books instead of cards. At least with children, people are giving books as gifts as opposed to cards. A lot with kids now, and that did come from my great grandmother, her mother. That came from her generation, and my grandparents' generation. It came from them because at one time books were very sought after. It wasn't like today where you can just go and buy books, and books are cheap. And you can get on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and get books delivered directly to your house. No, you had to ride a horse and buggy, or just a horse or a side saddle. Um, my one of my grandmothers, her mother was a school teacher at a one-room schoolhouse, and in the wintertime, and they did have a car at some point in her childhood, but it was a two-wheel drive, of course, and so you couldn't get on the roads in the wintertime in a little car, and so in the summer they would drive, or in spring and fall they would drive the car on occasion, but usually they rode a horse to school, and to get an education. My grandmother to get her education, my great grandmother to administer the education. And we at one time did have the side saddle. We ended up, I think, donating it. My family did ended up, I believe, donating it uh, to someone who was going to use it. Because it's, I mean, people don't ride side saddle, or very rarely ride side saddle anymore. It's not a big thing because women don't wear only dresses; women wear pants. I mean, that was the side saddle reasoning is, women wear dresses and it's not very ladylike when you are sitting straddling a horse and your dress is all up and showing your legs and everything. That's not very proper. So all over the place right now, and but books were an education. It was so difficult to obtain at that time, um, and so people would get books. Um, Many times as gifts, that was a good gift, and they would write on the insides of books because books were valuable and they were to be passed on and kept for a lifetime. And so you could go back to that book and you could open it and you could remember. Um, Libraries used to be very, very important, and I would argue that they still are, but their importance currently has been greatly diminished by the internet. Everything in that library, I can pick up my phone, I can find that information. But with that access to information, we have lost something. I believe that we have lost something very important. See, in the days where my grandmother had to ride side saddle with her mother, the school teacher, to a one-room schoolhouse so she could get her education. So she, when in those days, to get her education, um, until she actually went to the high school, which there was a high school for the county, and then there were many one-room schoolhouses that went up to high school. Um, and in those days, and she was able, because it was hard and it meant something. Um, she went to college at 16 because she graduated everything at 50. And she went to college at 16 to get her license, her degree to become a pharmacist. That was back in the days when colleges were in the business of actually teaching people, not indoctrinating people. But it was a thing. And it was very difficult to obtain. And America has had it very easy following World War II. Things got easy. Um, they just have. They got entirely too easy for us. And I don't think they're going to be easy for much longer. And I think that these books are going to be more important now in the future. I do. I think they're going to be more important than they are at the present. Because, especially if you're like me and are going to refuse the jab for my own personal, um, intellectual, moral, religious reasons, I have many, many reasons not to, none of which YouTube wants me to discuss. Um, I do think that there will come a time where my power will be cut, my internet will be cut, my ability to travel across state lines will be cut, depending on the state and depending on where to. I think that that will come in the next year or so. I do think that that will come. And I think we will be much in that time where travel is restricted. In those days, travel wasn't restricted by any government ordinance. It was restricted in this area, in these areas around here, by geography. Geography is what restricted us. Um, if I am not mistaken, West Virginia is like top. We might be the top, but we are at least top 10 on percentages of our roads that are unpaved in the lower 48, at least in the lower 48. We are we are to this day somewhat restricted by geography here. Um, but I do think that we will be restricted not only by geography in the near future, but by governments. Um, I do think that's coming. So do what you can. I would strongly encourage you to add books and knowledge to the preparations you are making. Books that provide knowledge, not just survival knowledge, books on how to read, and books on math, and books on all of these things. I think that is going to be much more important in the future. And even if you just get online and print information off of the internet, that obviously verify it as a source. But I think even if you do that, you need to have information. Hey CR, how are you getting along? What is okay? I see a book and I don't know what the knot means. And a smiley face. But yeah, we are drinking some bad coffee here tonight. But I think that the books are going to be much more important in the near future. There is a nod emoji. I didn't know what that was implying there. Maybe not the Book of Faces or the Facebook. Maybe not the Facebook. um, oh goodness. So, at the beginning of all of this, I mentioned that I am literally surrounded by plants. You are over top of zucchini, and beside of some lovely cucumbers, and I've got peppers, tomatoes, lots of cabbage, lots of romaine lettuce. Over there is even more peppers, and also some flowers because the wife likes flowers, and hey, I like flowers too. Um, and these are all important things. They're all important. Um, for the future. Um, I don't know how it is up in Canada. Um, but the governments around here are getting kind of tyrannically. Although I'm very proud of my state. I'm a lot prouder of my state. Yeah, sunflowers. We're going to grow sunflowers this year, mainly as a chicken feed. But they do look pretty. The big sunflowers, and then we'll have like flax and marigolds and some kind of a butterfly food flower. I don't remember what it's called, but it's supposed to be really big for the monarch butterfly. And then I don't remember what the other one is. But my wife wanted flowers, and so we will have flowers. uh, I don't know the flowers from peonies. Not entirely sure what that is, but oh, not entirely sure. So, uh, my uh, yeah, my garden plans are are very large this year. Uh, oh wow, those are big. That is pretty big. Um, the big flower. Um, goodness gracious. Uh, there's probably a lag on all of this. Probably taking a while for your comments to actually make it to me. Um, I would say just because I know how my internet is, and to my knowledge, I can't get any better. I live in a holler. Like I live between like four big hills. Like I'm surrounded by hills on all sides. Um, and I have satellite internet because that's. Oh, hey, Guns. How are you getting along? We're talking about, well, right now we're talking about flowers, but I was talking about the old time ways and how the world is ending. um, okay. Well, hey, uh, work is pretty important stuff, I reckon. I would imagine just what little. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Um, if you decide to start my video over later, if you decide to, I got started actually talking about that around 21 minutes in. And I just talking about some family stuff and some of this stuff going back with that. If you're interested in it, awesome, awesome. Uh, but I certainly don't want to keep you. Uh, you got stuff to do, I'm sure. Um, I had uh, my own stuff going on. uh, is work, but I don't really consider it work. Uh, ugh. But I got to do some welding today and fabrication, which is my all good deal. Working in the wood shop, but hey, and it's weird for me. Bug country. Okay, okay, all right. See, you corrected it. um, we could call it bug country because the ticks are really bad around here this year. I have every day, just about for the past month, I have picked at least one tick off of me. Just about every day. Um, I actually found a Lone Star tick on me today. It was on my neck. I mean, it hadn't lacked, but those are the ones that can make you allergic to red meat. um, so, CR, how are things in your world? Are you how how far are you? Um, well, I'm starting to think that I need to actually buy bug repellent. You're warmer. When is garden season up there? Like when can you guys actually get things in the ground without hoop houses and all of that? Also, you guys are dealing with some kind of a drought, and it's not good. We have not. Yeah, this month. It's this month for us too. The 11th is, according to the almanac, the last danger of frost. I usually plant either the weekend of the 11th or after, somewhere in there. Okay. I actually don't know what zone I'm in. I don't know. I never really did get too caught up in the numbers of the zones. But I think I'm like 4 or 5, I think. I don't remember. Like I said, I've never really gotten too caught up in the numbers of all of that. I am going to go and get a refill on my coffee, and I might put a little bit more, whiskey in the coffee. I might, because it actually made it taste better. Be right back. Oh, goodness. Oh. So yeah, you guys are going to be planting this one too. I should have already had my cabbage in the ground. I'm here. I'm back. But I'm planning on doing some sauerkraut this year with cabbage. I do too. I've got onions in the ground right now. The next day or two, I meant to do it earlier, but oh yeah, the onions, and I'll be honest with you, I've left onions in the ground over the winter, and then they come right back in the spring. And they'll be bigger and bigger and bigger the longer you let them go. Is my understanding. But I have to say, like the way that I do our onions typically is I just plant them in a wash tub or a bucket of some sort, just a container, and I have them. Like I've got some stuff that gets container garden that's like on the walkway up to the house, and And so with the onions, I can just walk right out there and then pick some onions and have some fresh green onions for for dinner or for a snack or whatever. Um, and Cabbage, I guess, is pretty cold hardy too. I did not know that until this year. Uh, but this will be my first year actually growing cabbage myself. I mean, we did it when I was growing up. Yeah, chives. I think they're pretty good too. Um, but they're a perennial, I believe. Chives are a perennial. They'll keep coming back. Yeah. Um, I like chives. They're a good herb. Um, well, those are the kinds of things that you want to grow. Honestly, things that'll just come back and you plant them once and then you can forget about them, and they'll just keep coming back every year. You just harvest them. Like that's the kind of stuff I want to be able to grow. Just plant it once and forget about it. Like mint, like the mint leaf, peppermint, spearmint. Those do really good. They'll take over like whatever spot you plant them in. Just expect it to be the mint spot. Um, oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you can dig them up. I tell you, talking about stuff that I don't have to do anything but harvest. Um, Dandelion flowers. I tried this year for the first time deep fried dandelion flowers, and just pick the flour and make a batter and deep fry it. It is absolutely phenomenal. Um, I like the flowers on their own, um, but they are delicious deep fried. Oh, oh goodness. I wonder what time it is. In my neck of the woods, it's almost 10 o'clock here. No wonder I felt like I was getting tired. Good deal. Good deal. um, I'm thinking about trying to get a corner of my property and actually plant like medicinal herbs in that property and see if I can get them to take off there. Certain herbs. Hey, I'm all for that. I hate grass. I really do. I hate mowing it. I hate grass. Um, I hate all the upkeep of it. It's a pain in the neck, and I don't get anything out of it other than a place to walk. And I can walk on it if it was gravel just fine, or if it was a garden. Like I'd rather have no yard, just garden, gravel, concrete. and that's it. And hayfield, and that's, well, I guess you could lay on it. I mean, there's some people who like to smoke it, but I don't really have any desire to do any of that. um, Laying in the grass, that's how you get ticks. Or, go feed your chickens that have a coop that's back in the woods somewhat. uh, the American lawn is the biggest fraud that's been perpetuated upon the American pop. One of them. I mean, we spend all these hours every year. I mean, I would say probably the Western lawn. You spend all these hours every week mowing them. People seed them, fertilize them, all of that, and they're just, I don't, you can't. You can't eat the grass. I mean, well, there are certain weeds that grow up in it, but people go out of their way to get all of the weeds out of it. Weeds. Um, don't cry over spilled coffee. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I don't like lawns. Oh, goodness. Speaking of coffee, I've got to go get rid of some here. Oh, goodness. Well, yeah, I don't sit still for very long, very well. My wife will tell you this. uh, Goodness. So, this is good weather, or good lighting for ghost stories. I'll tell a ghost story like this. There we go. Now the red beard is even more red. uh, but I can. Good deal. You added even more grass to the ground around there. You can have it. You can have all of the. You can have all of my grass. Or are you saying you added more weeds? Um, I've got I've got plenty of weeds. Um, but I guess I could tell a ghost story. I know goes coast to coast. He told me. Mm. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, pounds of it, huh? Biomass, right? uh, yeah. Around here, you got nothing but old red clay. Uh, you've really got to work a piece of ground to get it to really produce well. You've got to add a lot of something to it because most of it is just it's old red clay. Um, it's not very good for growing. That's why chickens are awesome. I'm going to show you off one of my new plants. I haven't actually put it in the ground, but I have got it started growing. This, and it's actually, that's new growth right there. That is a Hearty Kiwi. It is great to be able to regenerate and create your own good soil, compost, manure, more compost, wood ash from the fireplace, all of that. Yeah, you've got to have that biological cycle going in the ground. That thing, it's growing in Miracle Grow brand potting soil. Not even the organic stuff, but it'll work. There's a bug of some sort is very interested in my arm. I don't know what it was. If I keep this light on, it might just be the bug country show. Hmm, good deal, I suppose. They have their place. Um, oh, but I mean, it's amazing when you can actually get into the dirt and see what's been, especially like the compost pile, and you actually dig in and see what kind of creatures are in there. Uh, millipedes and centipedes and earthworms and beetles and all that other junk. As some sort of beetle. Yeah. Yeah. That's fact. That's fact. But most of mine is um, manure. I mean, that's most of what I use for composting is just manure, and there's all of the biomass itself, all of the plants that I mess with, kitchen scraps and things like that. They they wind up in the compost pile by way of the chicken coop. Orange peels and banana peels and things of that nature. It all winds up by way of the chicken coop into the compost pile. Um, so I guess you could say they shred the biomass. um, but I didn't know that. Yep. Oh, good deal. Oh yeah. I remember you talking about you put the eggshells in your garden directly. Um, oh, absolutely. I mean, and if you don't have chickens to feed the eggshells back to, then absolutely put them in the ground. Um, like I said, I feed them to my birds, and I figure that it winds up to some degree back into the ground, but it also goes back into the egg production cycle, um, which is very important for me. Uh, I make, and I mean, I sell the eggs. I make enough money to help pay for my feed. Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've heard of people. They take the eggshell, they actually dry them out, grind them up into a good powder, and just throw it, spread it out into the garden. Um, Coffee grounds, they go in there too. Um, and I actually know people that they'll take their coffee filters and put them around the plant, and it helps keep the weeds down and fertilizes the soil and everything else. But Oh, goodness. Well, I reckon I've been here over an hour, and it is after 10, about a quarter after 10, and I have things to do tomorrow. So I am gonna get. Oh, there's no problem with that. The recovering aspect. Um, I truly believe that um, there has to be a balance between what's good for us and what's good for the environment. And the like Western gardening and farming, well, Western farming practices like large scale agriculture is not good for the environment, but it's the only way we're going to feed this many people. And I'm not one of these people that says, oh, well, we need to reduce the population. But more people need to be growing their own food in a responsible manner. And that is responsible ownership of livestock, responsible um, growing of crops, minimal use of chemicals, minimal use of commercial fertilizers. Um, and there has to be a balance between what's good for us and what's good for the environment, how we could regenerate the soil, and how we can still provide food for ourselves and our families. Um, I followed the Ice Age Farmer on YouTube and on his other, a lot of his other social media channels, BitChute, Rumble. I think he's on Rumble. Um, oh, right. And then that's one of the big things with him is that cycle of your animals, putting into the animals from the garden, from the land, and then putting that back in with minimal inputs from off of the property. And I mean, and it is doable to some degree. And I think Marjorie Wildcraft, I really like that. I saw the interview that she did, or he did, Ice Age Farmer did with Marjorie Wildcraft, and she's one of those ones that she's really big against the commercial chicken industry. And if I think it's if 1 in 4 families had backyard chickens, we could completely eradicate the need for commercial chicken houses for egg production. And not only is that going to be better for the environment, because you have chickens that are a lot closer to being in a more natural setting. You have, you don't just have this one big building and this mass of chicken manure that now has to be dealt with. Um, hey, I mean, yeah, I mean that's a natural cycle. I mean, you can go out into my woods right now and just dig, and you will find some good soil where where there are trees and where there's woods, where there's been the flow of uh, leaves and decaying leaves, and the leaves and decaying leaves. the ground is pretty good. Where there's these old areas. Pretty good soil. But yeah, I'm big against this typical lawn, just because of what people do with it. We throw commercial fertilizers on top of the soil, and I'm not saying we as in me, because I don't do any of this. But people, they throw commercial fertilizers on top of the soil, and they spread weed killer, and they try and eradicate any plant that doesn't look like grass. Dandelions, for example. Yeah, the amount of water that gets wasted keeping a green, lush lawn. And I'm not all about that. If I'm going to put that much, and don't get me wrong, I have a yard, but it's as minimal as I can keep it. And it doesn't get mowed like probably my neighbors and everyone else wishes. Good deal. Good deal. You said that earlier that you were needing water. We got a pretty good rain there earlier this week. But it hasn't been an overly wet spring, which I am hopeful for. But we have gotten rain, but it hasn't been overly wet. Normally, they're here recently, the last several years, we've got way too much rain. So I'm hopeful for rain amounts this year. At least this spring, getting plants going. But yeah, yeah, we got some. I mean, we got rain here, but it wasn't like just downpours. And I mean, it wasn't constant. It was, maybe once a week we get an okay rain. I think we had a week or two that we didn't really get any rain to amount to anything. Wasn't that long ago that we got snow. Absolutely, there you go. I do not have actual barrels for rain collection myself. I should, but I don't. I have a small run that goes through my property and a full-on creek that goes through my property. And the run will dry out, but the creek, I've not seen it dry out yet. If it's really bad if that thing dries out. And then, not to mention, I have a well. But I do use rain collection as kind of a rudimentary rain collection system for my chickens. Basically, I have 5-gallon buckets under the metal roof for the chicken coop to collect as much rain as I can. And depending on how much rain we keep getting, I can go for a while without actually having to put any water source, or without having to actually go and fill the bucket up. to put in their water. Their water. But a lot of people, I mean, and rain catchment is good. I've got a coworker of mine. He's lives quite near. It is. It absolutely is life. But a coworker of mine, where he lives, um, there he doesn't have a well on his property. He lives way up top of the hill, and so his water source is rain collection. He has a big cistern under his. No, it's not. I have mixed in coffee with snuff, and it is not the same. But yeah, a coworker of mine that we get along pretty good, work together and all that. But he lives up the hill from me, and actually very close as the crow flies. But he has a big cistern underneath his house that catches the rain off of that, and in all of his outbuildings, he has running. The gutters run into IBC totes. He uses the IBC totes for his garden, and then he good deal. Good deal. That's must be getting a pretty good rain, a good steady rain. That's good. That good slow. You want that good slow rain that just can actually soak into the ground, and you don't just have it just run off. And then what are you gonna do with it, right? It doesn't have time to soak in and actually do any good. It just runs, fills up the creeks. But well, bud, I reckon I've been on here about an hour and a half, and I probably ought to get off here. And I got things to do tomorrow, and it is in my neck of the woods. It's about 10:30, and my morning started at about 4:30. So, oh, trust me on this. I like, especially you get me on a good topic. I can go on and on and on and on. I can ramble. Uh, but I'm kind of wore out. Like this is my second pot of coffee today, and well, and I could still like I drank an entire pot of coffee over the course of this live stream, and I can still just fall asleep right now. But I'll try and do more live stream kind of things here, and maybe I'll figure out how to get a better system for uploading videos, because I've tried to record videos and I've got some good videos. It just YouTube doesn't make it easy for me to upload them, and maybe it's just me, but it is what it is. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna get off of here. You have a good night, and I'll talk at you later. Absolutely. We'll see you. End stream.